Welcome to the LJEffect podcast, affecting your mind and body to become your most authentic self. So tonight I have an awesome and amazing content creator, ZenMode Philosophy. How's it going, man?
Hey, can't complain, brother. Good to have you.
Yeah, hey, dude. Again, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. So
Anytime.
it helps me out about, and I'm just here to just help you out too, and just get some content out. And you being a fellow content creator, like, what got you started in the first place with getting a channel up and going?
I think everyone can relate to this to some degree. Is
Yeah.
I just started watching a lot of Elisha Long's videos, and that's what kind of propelled me forward. It was a video where he was talking that it's like it's so easy to just pick up your own camera and just start recording and talking because there's somebody in this world. I think our perspective is so narrow how broad this world is and how many people are actually there. And if you start building some kind of, whatever, even if it's cooking, if it's video games, if it's your art painting, music, like you name it, like there's a streamline of individuals that are willing and wanting to connect with you, but like you just have to push yourself out there. And eventually I just started working towards that. I was just making videos, whether it was, motivational things. And my kind of concept always is revolving about how to improve yourself, whether that's, causing, getting into self-discipline. What are you doing in your life consistently on a daily regimen that is improving your life? Whether that's just simple things, taking a cold shower, going on a 15-minute walk every single day, small things to make extraordinary kind of results. And yeah, I mean, regardless of what my videos, whether it's working out, like I said, longevity aspects, just the direction of the channel was made to improve myself in the mix. People can follow my own journey as I improve. And then just in the same time, helping people grow and just provide information. At the same time, a community of people of being like-minded individuals.
Right, right. That's a pretty good explanation, man. That's a really good summary. I love it. You're also on Instagram as well, right? In
Yeah,
ZenMode Philosophy. So you create some content there for your viewers or followers.
yeah,
So people are
yeah.
able to kind of follow you in those parallel platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been posting in a sense as much on Instagram, but I've always post stuff on my story. And the same kind of product line you would see on my YouTube, it resonates within the Instagram stories. So you'll usually find the same stuff. Anything. What I like doing is I like putting a 50% entertainment aspect of it and 50%, stuff that's applying and growing motivation. I think a lot of times what happens, we get so tunnel minded, like I gotta stay disciplined, I gotta stay motivated. And it's like you start almost being so narrow minded that you lose sight about like, dude, you're gonna fucking die one day. Like you gotta, you gotta lighten up and just have some laugh, have some room for just laughter and humor. Because at the
Mm,
end of the day, it's like you're going to be on the grind. You're going to be working. If you're trying to build a brand of any sort, you're going to be putting in easily anywhere between 60 to 100 hours a week if you're really trying to explode and grow. You
yeah,
know,
no kidding.
you can't have this kind of relationship with yourself where you're so serious because then they'll translate to all aspects with your relationships to people. And obviously that can have some benefit being with people where, they show that, oh, this person's mature and whatnot. But in my direct experience, what I've experienced with just even my personal business, my private business, is that people want multiple dimensions to you. You got to be moments of seriousness. You got to be humorous and funny. But yeah,
Yeah. No, of course, man. Like sometimes I catch myself getting stuck in that kind of narrow-mindedness a little bit, like just because I'm just so focused on that grind. But at the same time, it's like you're right. Like you're gonna die one day, and you got to learn to kind of like sit back and have some laughs, while at the same time still trying to put in the work. But you also got to like find some kind of flexibility in those areas,
right
as
on.
you're becoming a better person.
The Buddha always says, like the middle path. And
Mm.
don't be too on the aspect of religion. Don't be too atheist like. You always got to be on that middle path where you're not streaming on one dimension too much and just being an extremist.
Hmm. Yeah, and one quote that resonates with me in like anything that you're doing, like especially if you're building a brand, And I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to it too, or just content creators in general. It's this quote by Osha just talking about how you make your life creative. It's not just about being a painter or a sketcher. You know, you make your life creative and you be creative through your life and you make your life a poem essentially. I'm not quoting the exact quote per se, but I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about through Osha or
Mm-hmm.
Osho.
Mm-hmm.
And that one really resonated with me, but I have that on my Instagram as well. So
Yeah.
just got inspired by that quote. But it made so much sense to me, especially for people that are just starting out, building their brands or building out or just creating content, whether it's on Instagram or if it is on YouTube or in whatever they're trying to do in building a business.
Yeah.
You know, they're just starting out, and really in essence it's their work, it's what they're creating and what they're bringing to the table every single day that makes their life creative, that makes
Mm,
them creative as a person
mm.
and as a content creator. I basically would say just a content creator, you know.
Hey, no, no, I agree with you. Very true.
Yeah. All right, so Alan, how did uh how did this whole COVID-19 pandemic affect you?
uh, in so many different ways. So I would say it was around November. It was like early November or maybe end of October where I went to a sushi restaurant and I got extreme food poisoning, like
Hmm.
103.5 fever,
Oh my God.
vomiting, shitting, all the fun stuff for like solid 6 days. Just
Oh
knocked me
no.
out. It was a haze. Those 5 days were such a haze that I just barely remembered even being conscious during that time frame.
Hmm.
But after that incident, something just wasn't right with my immune system. Just for that factor, is your immune system is so strongly correlated with just your gut, and obviously, I must have had some bug, some parasite, whatever was in that sushi must have affected me, where it downregulated my immune system to the point where, as later November's coming on, I just started feeling like, oh my god, like dude, my muscles hurt so bad to the
Hmm.
point that everything was exhausting. Even chewing my food was exhausting. Going on a walk was exhausting. Doing my massages was just like a fucking full body workout times 10.
Wow.
That's what it felt like.
Even just being at work.
Yeah, no, it was so dreadful. And I'm just starting to feel like, dude, and I was keeping up because I follow with a lot of YouTube channels and I saw what was going on even at the end of summer, what was going on in China. And I was thinking, dude, this is probably going to come here. But it was like kind of on the background, and maybe it won't, maybe it will. And
Right. I was too.
and as it got worse, I was like, dude, I'm literally feeling faintish, fatigued, lethargic, no energy, slight fever. Like on the temperature gauge, when I take a temp all the time, it only showed like 98.6, 99. Like it wouldn't
Hmm.
go past 100. I'm like, this is so extremely weird. Zero appetite, no nothing. And so I'm like, all right, well, I guess this is it. This is the month that I die apparently. But so I just started going to a doctor's. I'm like, hey, I feel like trash. Absolute, like I've never felt like this in my life. I never get sick.
Yeah.
Absolutely never get sick. The only times I ever got sick is because of food poisoning, and that's
Hmm.
because of sushi. And I'll take that risk because I love sushi.
Well, I mean,
But
even just the fact that you're getting exhausted just from chewing your food, you got to know that something is way off when you're getting
yeah,
that exhausted from chewing your own food, you
and
know?
then it was just an endless cycle. Not eating, so I'm losing my appetite, losing weight. I went for like 2 weeks of just pretty much drinking bone broth. That's all
Hmm.
I was just drinking because I just
That's good shit.
yeah, right. And I was thinking like, okay, maybe something's up with my gut. But like I said, I was at the doctor's office. They did a strep test. They did influenza A and B test. Did all blood markers, whether it was my lipid levels, vitamin D, they were checking my immune reactions. Everything was negative. Everything was showing like there was nothing wrong.
Hmm.
And I'm just thinking to myself, like, dude, I swear to God, I have corona, but there was no
Yeah.
testings available at that time frame. So I went 3 times to the doctor on separate occasions. Like every week I was going to the doctor. And then I got to the point where I'm like, fuck it. I'm just gonna endure it. That's all I can do. And it got to the point from November all the way till April that's when I started feeling better. At the end of April, that's when I started feeling better. It was just every day waking up feeling like shit. Like just 10 out of 10. Acid reflux started kicking in,
Mm.
zero appetite. I was working still, and like zero motivation for anything. You know, it was just so mentally and physically exhausting. At the point, I was just thinking, like, is this what my life's gonna be? Is this like,
Yeah.
do I have chronic fatigue syndrome? Do I have an autoimmune issue? Like, no clue what's going on. And I was using different peptides that were injection peptides for
Okay.
immunotherapy, and I was
Oh.
using BPC 157. I was using thymosin beta 4. I was using thymosin alpha 1. All of these specifically made for really strong immune function therapy, helping the body recover. And after I started doing that every single day, I started noticing a decent amount of change. Strangest thing, after that time frame, all of a sudden I just started feeling better. I started like doing like this cold, whatever happened, the body ache started disappearing. But that's when really the the coronavirus started kicking in around in our states, and I'm like, swear to God, this was Corona, and this had to come in way earlier because dude, people were still flying in from China, from all
Mm.
ports of Asia. There was no way to just say like,
Oh yeah.
it's February, all right, it's March, we're closing down the borders. Like that's too late. People have been coming in for months, and um, I it's hard to say what if it was just Corona that did this to me. I feel like there was maybe a multitude of things because I've never had acid reflux, which the extreme form of it is GERD,
Mm.
and just burning of the esophagus. Anytime I would sleep, just felt like crap. Couldn't get a good amount of sleep, and if I did sleep, sometimes it'd be like for 18 hours. So I'd
Wow.
go to bed and wake up and I'd look. It's like, oh, 18 hours just passed by, and like that's a mind fuck. That's an absolute mind bender to
Oh no
just fall
way.
asleep and be like. So let's just say the starting off of of this year was absolute garbage. But I think regardless of what
Yeah.
happens to you in life, I've had so many experiences. Obviously, we're going to cover that in this podcast of things that have happened to me that you just learn to just appreciate things on a whole nother level.
Hmm.
Just waking up, not feeling like shit, not having acid reflux, not having body aches. It's just like, dude, I feel like that's a blessing. You can't trade that for anything. I don't care what kind of job you have. I don't care any lifestyle. If you're just waking up with no pain, ready to attack the day, dude, you're more blessed than any person you've ever met.
Oh yeah. No, 100%, dude. God, just can't imagine.
Yeah, no,
And I've been sick before too, but I've never been that sick, man. Like, I mean, but
my probability of it, my high suspicion is Corona with it. It could have been something else. Who knows what other kind of bug? But besides that factor, I don't know what else could have been
mm,
the leading factor for it. My my blood was everything was coming out normal, and to have something so extreme hit you and then just disappear like within a few days,
yeah.
it was just like having it for months on end and then just disappears. It's just like, whoa, that was weird.
Hmm.
And the thing is that there's decent amount of people that had corona, they're sick for like a month or two, and then afterwards they have some after effects symptoms where they're either have foggy thinking, their brain's a little bit more depressed. They feel that there's another thing, immune deficiencies, autoimmune issues, also
Right.
gut related issues. So I'm just like, I don't know what's going on to what extent, but at the same time, I'm no bitch. So we're not going to have this
Yeah.
little bit of a bug just take me out. I still got things to do.
Oh no, exactly. Exactly. But as far as what the doctors could tell you and give you as far as like diagnosis went, you definitely had GERD then, as far as you knew.
Yeah, no, the doctors had no clue what first was going on with me. They're like,
Mm.
this makes absolute no sense. And then I went to three doctors, and then the fourth doctor, he did a different bit of an evaluation. Smart guy, but how he finished his final procedure of diagnosing me was the wrong thing because he tried to put me on PPIs, and
Mm.
those are medication that downregulate stomach acid.
Okay.
So, so what I've learned tons of studying that I did learning about just acid reflux and whatnot, is that a lot of times what can happen is that you start taking a PPI your doctor prescribes you, you start lowering down your stomach acid, which you start eating your food, stomach acid is not rising, and each food that you have has millions and millions of fungi, bacteria, it has everything on it, every food that you're eating. And if you take that in and if you don't have the stomach acid to kill that, well, where does that go? That goes into your small intestine, your large intestine. You start developing candida, SIBO, H. pylori, and then you just go in a chain cycle of, oh, yeah, I feel fine. And then wait a minute, something doesn't feel right. I just ate something and I'm feeling 10 times worse. You might feel okay in the first month or two, but I promise you, you will get somewhat of a bacterial overgrowth, because that is the role of stomach acid, is to protect foreign invaders to invade your small intestine and keep the population of your gut more healthy. And so I started doing more research, and apple cider vinegar, there the feedback that I got consistently is apple cider vinegar, apple cider vinegar, bed, I'm trying to remember, it's HCl something, so it's like hydrochloric. So it raises your stomach acid levels.
It might be hydrochloric acid tablets.
Yeah.
They have some of those. Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's what it is. But it's like a specific brand name for it. But ever since I started taking that, it raises the stomach acid level, which at the same time changes the pressure in your stomach that can close the lower sphincter of the esophageal entering into the stomach. So it closes it, and then you no longer have GERD. Not in all cases, but in my case, I think if that's what it was, because ever since I've been doing that, it's been a game changer.
Okay. Yeah, dude, apple cider vinegar, or ACV as an abbreviation, you got to get a good brand. One brand that I recommend, dude, for any kind of stomach issues, or in your case, like hydrochloric acid imbalances in the stomach, because the brand that I recommend is Bragg's apple cider vinegar, hands down. Yeah. Great company. And what it does is it's more of a balancing act for your stomach, because your stomach needs just the right amount of hydrochloric acid to start digesting those enzymes and to create those digestive enzymes for when you have that food intake and when you start eating food. But if you have too much of it, it can overthrow it, and then you can get stomach acid, or causes vomiting, or maybe even ulcers in some cases, but not really. At the same time, you don't want it too low though either, otherwise you're not going to be able to digest your food. And like you said, you'll get those invaders of just, fungi and candida and things of that nature if you don't have enough hydrochloric acid. So ACV, apple cider vinegar, is the best for just keeping your stomach balanced and keeping your system alkalized, actually. So it's one of the best drinks you can start with for the first part of your day. At least I've had some good results with just doing at least a tablespoon in the mornings in some hot water or some water. You can drink it hot or cold, and then you drink that thing down, and then before you have your breakfast or a cup of coffee even, you're alkalizing your stomach for the beginning of the day. And overall, too, it's a great cleanser. I've noticed that for me personally, I never really had acne as a problem, but I noticed that when I take it internally and I use it as a toner too on my skin, on my face, it really clears up any kind of acne problems and skin problems.
So that's your secret.
Oh, to having this nice skin tone. Yeah. Well, I could talk to you a little bit more about carrot juice too later. So.
Yeah, true that.
That's how I keep that tan in the middle of winter. Dude, you're so tan. Like, where do you go? Do you go to the salon? No, I don't go to the salon. I just drink carrot juice. What?
Have you really had that situation happen?
Well, my girlfriend, she said, "Man, you're looking like you got this kind of skin tone about you." I said, "Well, I have been juicing carrots lately, so
that's funny.
That may play in as a factor." The most extreme case I've had with drinking carrot juice is just straight carrot juice, and the most extreme case I've had is that my hands had turned orange before. They're not orange right now, but that's just the beta carotene buildup, and I had so much of an axis in it because I was drinking carrot juice like it was going out of style, and I was doing some juice therapy, some juice cleansing at the time. Yeah. When I did this, and I just drank it in large quantities, cut it with water and apple juice to sweeten it up a little bit, because otherwise it's just pure vegetable juice.
Yeah.
But dude, that beta carotene will just stay in certain areas of your body, particularly your outer limbs, like your hands and your forearms, maybe feet and legs, like your what am I trying to say? Calves. So
Yeah.
before, just until your body needs it, and then when I backed off of it, then my hands turned to just normal color again,
Damn.
and
Damn rats.
they went back to being pink, you know, and pale and all that. So, but
That's funny.
that's one comment I've had. I think in the middle of wintertime is like I was just drinking a bunch of carrot juice, and people asked me if I went to a tanning salon. I said nope, but I am drinking some carrot juice. Oh
That's
man,
so funny.
that's so weird.
That's funny.
But um, so dude, you were out of work for a little bit too during this whole time, right? But you're able to work
Yeah.
part-time at the clinic.
So I was working so we officially at my work we closed March 15th around that time frame. And luckily enough, one of my friend was friends with a chiropractor and said that she was looking for some massage therapists because no one wanted to work. Mind you, this is me still like on the fence, still feeling like shit. I'm like, fuck it.
Right.
I'm gonna
Because
keep
you were still
working.
sick.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just like, it's not in me to just rest and sleep, which is not the brightest, but still. Um, around yeah, so I started working there, and it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was funny because the scenario of it was is that once in Illinois, the lockdown went into effect. I swear it was a ghost town. Driving everywhere was
No
just
way.
unbelievable. The high,
This
like,
was in Chicago,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
And I'm driving, just nobody there. I'm driving all by myself on a highway where it is usually saturated with cars, shoulder to shoulder, going at 75, and it's just me, boat, just cruising, just slowly. I'm like, dude, this is odd. Something like you would see in like a zombie apocalypse.
And
And it was eerie because you're driving, you're looking left, you're looking right, and you just see that all the stores are closed. Everything's boarded up. I'm like, I swear to this feels
mm,
like you're in a different reality.
mm.
But during that time frame, worked at that Cairo for a bit, and then in June, was it June? Yeah, June 27th, we opened up at the other massage clinic and just went back there. But still, it was just like
Okay.
the eeriest feel. It was so interesting to see the dynamic between people, even that during that time frame.
Oh, yeah.
Even in my case, I was just thinking like, you know what? I'm taking such a protocol, even though I feel like shit. I know I'm taking a good amount of products that could definitely protect me if I got corona. I didn't know if I had it, didn't know if I did, but I was suggesting that I probably did. But during that time frame, people were so like that 6 feet was unbelievable. People were like,
Yeah.
are you sure? You sure you want to touch my kid? Get on the table. Get naked. You're all good. Don't worry. And
Just get on the table. You're fine.
luckily enough, because like, my job as a therapist is to make sure you relax. I need
Hmm.
you to relax because then your fascia releases, you start breathing more deeper, you start dropping down your cortisol levels, and I can actually work on you. If you're on the table locked up like, dude, I'm about to die because this dude's about to give me corona, it's like
It doesn't board, right?
there's no point of this massage then.
Yeah. No, totally get that. And you mainly work as a private practice masseuse, correct?
So I do half and half. I focus
Okay.
half of it in just a standard regular clinic, and then everything else I do is private practice. A lot is in the a region of sports therapy, so I focus a lot on bodybuilders, professional athletes.
Oh wow.
Um, have you ever heard of this guy called Ed Cohen?
Oh man, that name sort of rings a bell, but not really. No.
So he's, I think, placed around 80 world records. He's in the Hall of Fame for powerlifting,
Oh wow.
and I think he's deadlifted, I think like 950 pounds. He squatted over 1,000. He's bench pressed over 600. And yeah, that's one of my clients that I have in my private.
Oh wow. That's awesome, dude.
It's
You actually you got to work on him then.
oh yeah, consistently.
Man, that's crazy. Huh.
Oh, it's so funny. The first time I went to his place, uh, I get there and he's just showing me around stuff, and then he gets me to his fridge and he's like, "Oh yeah, those were the tigers I used to have." I'm like, "Wait, what?" I look and he literally has a picture with 2 cubs of tigers. I'm like, dude, this is Mike Tyson Jr. Like literally, like I was laughing so hard because like this dude is so knowledgeable, but so full of experiences with life. It's just like, oh my god, I need to soak everything that you're telling me because you're just one of a kind.
No kidding. Yeah. No, dude, that's like it's pulling like a hangover right there.
Literally.
Mike Tyson's tiger. We
Literally.
took Mike Tyson's tiger.
It was crazy. I mean, still to this day, anytime I'm with him, I mean, working on him, he'll always just whip out a knife because he has a massive knife collection, and he's like, "Dude, check out this new knife I got." I'm like, "Whoa, dude!"
Oh,
I'm like, "Watch out."
That's a little too close there.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, cool
it's a little
guy
close
though.
there, Ed. Oh man, Ed Cohen, powerlifter, huh? Supreme.
Yeah, and then I just got like amateur bodybuilders. I mean, people that do MMA and whatnot. I like working on athletes because I can relate better with them. But I mean, still I have regular clients that just, they're either working at some facility or they're just an accountant or whatever, and they're working a 9 to 5 and just drilling and their back's exhausted. And those are fun clients too, because, sometimes they'll book a 2-hour massage and they just want to talk the whole time. Some of them, they don't even want to chill. Like, oh, da, 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 da. They just keep yapping. I'm like, dude, this is flying by and I'm getting paid bang for this.
Yeah, man. No, you told me how much it's like. It's just great to even work for just a franchise, whether or not you're working private practice or if you're working for a franchise, and just how easy it can be just to make a little bit of money on the side with, not on the side, but just making money as a masseuse. Whether you're actually helping them with some therapy and like you're actually working on an injury, or if they're just a regular 9 to 5,
Yeah.
They're paying you by the hour just to do the massage, and so it's pretty good money. I've looked into it myself, and you've told me a little bit more about it too, as far as your schooling and everything went. So it doesn't sound like too bad of a career,
Nah, it's good.
But yeah, man. Speaking of careers, you told me about some recent business plans too that you have.
Yeah.
How's that been going?
I mean, phenomenal. Right. I mean, we started the company. Well, I started it in 2018, and it's revolving around the CBD hemp market. So at first, I was like buying CBD stuff. I'm like, oh, this is fun. This is great. I love taking this stuff. Get a good night's sleep. Hang out with people. It was the perfect element of being social, taking care of your body. Because a lot of times we're looking for something that can be social and beneficial. Like, a lot of times people relate and use alcohol instead, where that can deteriorate you and just you feel like shit in the long run of it.
Sure.
And I was thinking, like, how do I get my foot in the door in this industry? So I started reaching out to a lot of farms in Oregon, Colorado, a few in Illinois, and I just started just chatting with people. I'm like, well, how much does this product cost? How much does this hemp flower cost? How much does this CBD tincture that you guys provide? The full spectrum, broad spectrum. And ever since that, in 2018, I was just daily researching of where are my investors, where are the individuals that have one of the best products at the best price, and just started working from there. And I was just thinking, okay, well, I have to come up with a brand. And with time, I started working with Photoshop. I started working with different kinds of graphic designers and came up with a company called Grandma Kush CBD. And so if you go on, I know it's so good. And
Dude,
I think a lot of times
oh,
what people do, the mistake people make in business or creating a company is they make it so basic that it doesn't have an emotion attached to it, and you can't relate with it. So sometimes we'll make a company like we have CBD.com, 365 CBD, and it's just like at the end of the day, I will forget that. Like, you need an image that will ingrain in someone's head, whether it's laughter, some way emotionally, because that's how you get people to purchase your stuff. People don't buy things logistically. They're not thinking in their head like, oh, well, if I got this and this, and calculate it. Majority of the time, people make impulsive decisions and they buy things through emotion. So by creating this brand, I mean, each person I show my logo to, anytime I show this brand, right away, first reaction, laughter. Like, dude, this is so funny. This is legit. And ever since that happened, we created the designs. And then after that, I started working with creating a website for it. So I created the website.
Yeah.
I started contacting distributors, which we got product labels, we got containers for our product. And so right now, currently, what we have on the website and just with the company in general, we have CBD hemp flower. So how these, so if it almost looks identical to cannabis. Like if you were to look at it and I was holding you a nug of it, it looks identical to weed, but it has 0.3% THC. It's below, some of it's even lower. And that's what makes it legal. In the 2018 agricultural law that got passed through, it allows farmers to grow hemp as long as it is below 0.3%. And so it was so funny. I remember the first day I ordered a pound of this stuff. It came to my house and I'm looking, I'm like, dude, this is no way this is hemp. Like I was a good hippie for like 5 years smoking the best weed from Colorado and California. And I'm looking at this stuff like, dude, there's no way. And so, you know, I rolled up a joint and I'm smoking it. I'm like, my body feels relaxed. Cognitively, nothing has changed. My body just feels all the tension's gone away. The inflammation's down. My anxiety's down. And I just feel at peace, but there's no coherent change within my mind. There's no psychoactive part of it. I'm like, dude, this is something that's going to change and be revolutionary. And ever since that moment, I knew that I had to go full force into that. So I started ordering all different kinds of strains. Some of the strains are cherry wine, Electra, sour space candy. I'm trying to remember a few other ones that we have. It's 2 other strains, but ever since that, say that again?
Oh, no, sure, man. That's okay.
But
flavors and all that.
yeah. And then as much as I saw that there was a good feedback with the hemp flower people were purchasing, but I realized that the other aspect of the market is like, not everyone wants to smoke. Some people just want relief and they don't want to destroy their lungs to a certain degree. So we made a CBD muscle rub and then a CBD tincture, which the tincture is you just put a few droplets underneath your tongue, and within 15 to 30 minutes, you'll be floating away to sleep because that's how strong the CBD can get.
Oh, man. And I mean, can you mix it in water and drink it that way too, where it might not be as potent?
So if you don't want it as potent, it makes sense to take it with some kind of food. You can, because the CBD that we use is full spectrum CBD. It's the full extraction of the plant rather than an isolate. CBD isolate, you can mix that into water and then you could obviously drink it slow, but you isolate the chemical in it of itself that you don't have the other components of the plant. Full spectrum is you have every single cannabinoid except THC, obviously, at a very small degree, but isolating it, it's not going to have the full medicine benefit that you would get from the full spectrum.
Okay, yeah, because as far as some CBD products that I've seen, as far as advertising goes, like a lot of them will like put it in water bottles and they'll use it in an athletic way, like if they're just hydrated for the day, but they have a little bit of CBD, like probably about like, as far as the tincture goes, they'll have like maybe a dropper full and it'll be in like a 16 to 24 ounce water bottle and they'll just drink on it throughout the day. Or, you know, vice versa, like where you can just put a couple droplets underneath your tongue, or full. I've actually seen in advertisements where the girl or gal is actually like dropping a full dropper full in their mouth and they're just throwing it back. And I think it just, again, depends on the strain too and just how strong it is, you know, but I mean, it just seems like with CBD tincture or CBD oil, like you can be pretty flexible with how you take it.
Absolutely.
As far as your strain goes, though, you're recommending to take it with food versus actually putting it in liquid, huh?
If you're trying to delay it, that it doesn't kick in as fast, then yeah. But I feel majority of people, the scenarios that they take their CBD tinctures is they're dealing with insomnia, so they take it right before sleep, or they're having an anxiety attack, a panic attack, so they're just using that in those instances. Whether it's in the morning, they'll take a little bit, you know, if they're feeling anxious before something. I'm trying to think and maybe if someone's feeling a little bit inflamed, you know, maybe their autoimmune issues are kicking in a little, so they'll take a few droppers just to drop down that inflammation a little.
Really? So it's actually good for autoimmune disorders as well?
Oh
not
yeah.
just muscle strains or say like injuries or inflammation from a hard workout. I know people use it for that
Yeah.
too, but
I have a friend and she has rheumatoid arthritis, and when it
okay.
flares up, it can sometimes knock her out for about 2 weeks, where she's bedridden.
Oh
And so
my God.
I recommended to her like, hey, you should try to get a medical license for cannabis. Just like get one, just see if it works for you. She
Huh.
did that, great relief, but I'm like, okay, well the next step you should do is add in CBD with it.
Hmm.
So those 2 weeks minimized to a week when she was using cannabis. When she added in CBD, no more than 2 or 3 days.
Hmm.
Like that's a
Wow.
miracle. Having someone sit in their bed for
Shit.
2 weeks and all they do is sleep, and then translating that to 2 or 3 days, like that's a night and day difference.
Yeah, and that's a huge cut down too, as far as like recovery time goes. Being out of work, being on bed for
Yeah.
2 weeks, only 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody get on that grandma Kush.
CBD.
Honestly, dude, when you told me the title and when I saw the logo for it, it made me think of one thing and one thing only. All right, Grandma's Boy, game time.
Yes. Yes. That's
That's
so
instantly
funny.
what I thought of, especially when she's holding
The
like
tray.
a tray with cooking gloves on and a cookie tray, and you got the Kush but it's
Yes.
not cookies. I thought they were gonna be cookies, but no, it was like bits of hash or like hash cookies
Yes.
or I don't know what they're supposed to look
Uh-huh.
like, but yeah, I mean, Grandma's Kush CBD oil. I mean, I just thought, man, dude, this makes me think of Grandma's Boy. Like,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, you saw that movie, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Dude,
funny.
just it's like a pothead's dream to be a video game tester.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, it's
Work
cool
for a
within
huge
the
corporation.
company because we're expanding with there was a point where we were making about 1,500, about 2,000 a month where
Hmm.
we just started. And then we got canceled with our payment gateway where we couldn't accept any kind of payments for some time frame. But luckily enough, I've been chatting with someone recently, so I would say within a week or two, the website should be running
Okay.
again. I mean, it's live and whatnot. It's just it doesn't accept payments. But
Okay.
the next step within the company is to open up a storefront. And for me, what's more important than anything is to be in a position where I'm financially free and can work towards doing what I want. Like
Mm,
that is so important in
mm.
life is just figuring out what you want. But a lot of times people can't do that because they're working. That's all they can think about is just work. They have to get up like, oh fuck, the job that they have, it could be killing them in the sense of like they're just exhausted, don't want to
Very
do
well
it,
could be.
or in the
Very.
sense like they're just going by and they're kind of content. But to actually be in a framework of just sitting back, you have your money and you're like, okay, well now can do what I want. Very small amount of people can do that, and that's
Oh.
my goal right now is to really push with the brand that I have with Grandma Kush to
Mm.
get in that position where it's like everything's kind of set back and okay, what do I want to do now? Do I want to travel? Do I want to focus on my YouTube? Do I want to push more in my CBD brand, or do I want to start a new business? And it allows you to be in a state like to be more creative, to be in a position of you have no longer that tunnel vision, because when you're in that grind and that routine of just life every day of work, you just kind of sometimes get cut off of like, I could do this, I could do that, I could meet up with these people, I could do so many different things. But yeah, that's what pretty much my goals are within the company.
Yeah, man, no, for sure. Like you obtained that freedom too. Like once you're setting your own schedule and you're writing your own paychecks, it's pretty nice, you know.
For sure.
And dude, the fact that you're getting quality hemp, that was a big thing agriculturally back in the 70s too. Man, like, and you being the hippie that you are, having that experience and knowing what's good and bad. You guys to push out a good product like that, I think it's gonna skyrocket. I think it's gonna make good sales too. You
Yeah,
know?
I think more important, regardless of what you're selling, it's very important to push your brand and to just get your name out there. Like,
Hmm.
regardless if it doesn't matter what you're selling, as long as people are aware of your company, that's going to gravitate attraction and awareness to it. And that in and of itself, anything that you have that attracts awareness, you're going to make money. Like, it doesn't
Mm.
matter what you're doing. Like, here's an example.
Okay.
There's this famous rapper, Tekashi 6ix9ine, the dude that
Mm.
was in New York City that snitched. And, people are like,
I've
well,
seen
he's
that
good.
guy. Yeah.
It's interesting because he was within that time frame. He was one of the biggest rappers in our time frame. Like he was easily in the top 10. And ever since there was a situation where he went to prison because he snitched on some people, everyone was saying like, oh, he's gonna be nobody. He's gonna be no one's gonna pay attention to him once he gets out of jail.
Right.
Second, this dude gets out of jail, he's doing the wildest shit, and there's awareness and attention going to him. And you know what happens? He gets money. He gets more endorsements. He gets more deals, and gets more traction. That in and of itself gets him more money. So like you have to understand whatever product or whatever direction you're going. If you have awareness and you have attention going in there, you're going to be making money. If you're wise enough to create something that can, whether you have a product and you know how to sell it, but if you have awareness and attention, that's more important than anything.
Yeah, awareness and attention, as well as a good quality product, and then you having the knowledge and the experience with that product too. Would you say so as well?
Yeah, absolutely. But there's so many times where there's shitty products. You can even say like some pre-workouts. Pre-workouts. There's so many pre-workouts that I saw. They're like, oh my God, this is the coolest pre-workout. This bottle looks awesome. Like the company spent how many millions to advertise it, and then you take it and you just feel like, why do I feel like shit on this? Why do I feel like half methed out? Just really good marketing.
I've had that experience too. I'm just like, did I just take some Coke? Like,
yes.
What the hell's going on? I don't feel like pumped up and ready to go to the gym. I just feel strung out. No.
Literally.
But yeah, man. Oh, dude, you gotta tell us your funny CBD story with your product.
So I was working on formulations of making CBD extractions, and so I was using 190 proof. No. I was using olive oil for this one. So I was using olive oil for this, and
it's a good base too, by the way.
Yeah, I used a little bit of olive oil, a little bit half and half with coconut oil, and so I put in about 3 ounces of CBD flower into the mix. So when that translates to about anywhere between 22 to 25,000 milligrams of CBD. When it comes out, this little bit of a bottle will have 25,000 milligrams of CBD. So I plugged into my calculator. I'm doing the estimates of how much a teaspoon, how much the calculation is going to be for the CBD. So I calculated out. I'm like, okay, 1 teaspoon is going to be 150 milligrams of CBD. During that process, I already forgot, and I pulled out a tablespoon. I'm like, okay, 1 tablespoon is 150 milligrams. I converted the idea of it wrong. So in reality, that was 450 milligrams of CBD. And I took down like 6 tablespoons. So that right there was anywhere between 2,000 to 2,500 milligrams. I already knew something was up because when I got into bed, it just felt like the world was just slowly disintegrating. And anyone that says that CBD cannot be psychoactive, I beg to differ. Just take a high enough dose and you will feel something. I guarantee it.
Oh my God.
And it's like 3 in the morning and I'm laying there and I wake up and I feel like my breathing got really weird. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I wake up and I just feel my body start shaking. And when you take high doses of CBD, it can bring on tremors.
Okay.
And I'm like, dude, what is going on? And I start like, even my breathing was shaking really hard. And I'm like, dude, this is insanity. I just got up, started walking back and forth, trying to walk it off. And then I get back into bed. I'm like, dude, all I can do is just stay up. So I stayed up from like 2 in the morning all the way till maybe 5 or 6, just tremoring, and then eventually fell asleep. But once I fell asleep, I woke up. I felt totally fine.
Okay.
It was so strange. I guess the CBD obviously had to do something with dropping down the inflammation and keeping the cortisol level down. But still, oh my God, that was literally the worst experience. So whenever you take CBD, don't take 2,000 or 2,500 milligrams. So in comparison, that's like taking, like 1 bottle I have is 500 milligrams. That's like taking 5 bottles at once. Just doing whole bottle and just pouring it in. That's how much CBD I took. No, like 5 whole bottles.
Whoa.
Just chugging down 5 whole bottles.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, you definitely got high. That's for sure. Something happened,
For
man.
sure, for sure.
Like, I mean, your body just had to. I mean, from you staying up from the what, like 2 to 3 to about 5, 6 a.m. I mean, your body was just trying to process it out, you know. Like,
Yeah,
and the one side effect was just having some minor tremors. But after that, you felt fine and you just slept like a babe, huh?
yeah.
Like,
And I was
just
thinking
passed out.
like, I'm like, I cannot go to the hospital because if I go to the hospital, A, they're gonna quarantine me for sure
Huh?
because this is during the whole COVID thing, and I'm like, they're
Right.
gonna look at me like you fucking idiot. You're what ODing on CBD? I'm like, I know it sounds stupid, but I just need you to check I'm not dying. All right?
Yeah. Oh, no kidding, dude. Yeah, well, hey, I mean, it was a good thing that you're able to write it out, and if that's just that one minor side effect, then it doesn't seem like it's too bad. But again, ladies and gentlemen, tuning in and watching, do not repeat, do not take over 250 or 205 or wait,
Uh,
2,500 milligrams of CBD oil.
yeah. Yeah, like when you think
Oh
about
man.
it, even like if someone takes like let's just say an example, a joint of
Mm,
CBD, a 1 gram joint that has let's just say 16% CBD, one joint that's 1 gram. That's a
okay,
hundred.
and they're
So if you
smoking it.
yes,
Okay.
if they're smoking it, they will take in 160 milligrams of CBD.
Mm,
So that's literally doing I don't know like 50 joints over
mm,
like when you calculate, it's like, dude, you're barbecuing yourself to the next level. Like imagine smoking 50 CBD joints and then going to
yeah.
bed.
Oh my
You're gonna
God.
have some side effects, and especially edibles hit you so much harder.
Oh no, that's what I hear too. Um, yeah. Well, and you know what, dude? I bet for the average just marijuana user, I'm sure that it probably doesn't affect them that much. You know, they probably don't have too bad of effects because they're high all the time. You know, they're just getting stoned every
Yeah,
day. You know,
yeah,
they wake up at 4:20 and smoke, and then they
yeah.
smoke again at 4:20 in the afternoon. You
I
know.
mean, like that was me for some time frame. I definitely smoked weed for a good portion. It was definitely a an interesting tool to use, but it's so easily abused and so easily put to the side that it doesn't have side effects. You know, people get so comfortable with just, hey, you know what? I'm just going to get home, smoke a joint, relax. And
Mm.
instead of being in that mind frame of like, you know what? I'm going to get home, I'm going to calculate my day out. How am I going to get ready for tomorrow? What is my goal next week? What is my goal next month? You know, that kind of scenario. Not, there are some stoners that do that, but I guarantee you
Mm.
it's not every single one because majority of stoners that I know, they're like, dude, let's go smoke a joint, let's watch something funny, let's order some food, and that's kind of the scenario. It's very
Mm.
hard to be disciplined when you smoke weed, for sure.
Yeah. No, definitely, man. Definitely. I mean, I just remember some of my friends growing up. They always went overboard. They
Oh,
always went overboard.
likewise.
You know. It was just inevitable. It was just so much of a vice for them. You know. But I do admire the people that can be disciplined with it, and it's not so much of a vice for them. They're actually able to calculate out their day,
Yeah,
and they can be a little bit more disciplined with it. But I've noticed with those groups of people, it's very far and few between,
yeah.
and
It's
that's why
like
I
a
think that maybe even CBD is a great alternative for that. You know.
for sure.
But um, let's see here. Okay, so we talked about. I was going to ask you why cold therapy or cold showers is bad to use after a workout.
Oh, this is really good. So when you
Yeah.
think about, let's just say you're going into the gym, you do your bench presses, you do your deadlifts, you do your squats, and you go into the shower. And I've heard endless amount of people to put on the cold water because it'll help your muscles recover faster, which
Right.
it is
Ideally with
true. It is,
inflammation and all that,
yeah,
right?
it is true. But here's the thing. If you're focusing on hypertrophy, where you're trying to actually make your muscle grow and you're kind of pushing in the realm of like bodybuilding or just aesthetic physique or things in that nature, you need that inflammation after that workout to actually grow. We need to tear down the muscle because that's what you do when you work out. You're
Mm,
literally tearing the muscle fibers, and afterwards, those fibers have to grow, and that inflammation is needed for certain kind of hormonal responses, and at the same time to if you were to just to jump in to a cold shower right away, you're putting on that cold, that inflammation goes down, and you're not giving that opportunity for your muscle to actually build upon it and grow and have that kind of strength. Like for an MMA fighter or a marathon runner, that would be smart advice to do, to finish your workouts with a cold shower if you have training the next day or something like that. But if you're trying to put on mass, if you're trying to actually grow muscle, it would be more important for you to do a warm shower or a lukewarm shower, because what you'll do is actually providing the heat will allow more blood to go into that area. And what that will do is provide more nutrients to that muscle group, and at the same time allow it to recover faster, but without down regulating the inflammation.
Right. Right. And the reason why I wanted to ask you that, though, too, is because you and me, we both practice the Wim Hof method. You've even seen me do a workshop in my content that I've created over the years. And I was just thinking, like, as a regular user of cold therapy, whether it's an ice bath or a cold shower, you know, it's just kind of good to know, like, the difference between when to use the cold shower or the ice bath therapy and when not to, for whatever kind of specific fitness goals you have in mind and what your goals are for your physique, essentially, and what you're going for, you know. And so
Definitely.
I think that if I do need to avoid cold showers for the time being, to have that inflammation response for my muscles to grow in my lifting sessions, then by all means I'll do that. So
and
I've also made the mistake of using cold showers to actually help with the inflammation response, when really I was actually losing my gains versus having an anabolic response, you know.
Exactly. And there's actually been some studies that if you do an ice bath where you're actually putting into your tub, putting a shit ton of ice, they've done studies that you're more prone to injury for 24 hours after your session. So whenever so if you do an ice bath, you want to at least wait 24 hours before you do some extreme lifting.
Okay. At least 24 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So usually, like, let's just say it's your off day. That's a perfect day to do an ice therapy session.
Okay. Okay. Or a cold shower, right?
I mean, regardless, even for myself, if I even do an extreme workout, I'll do, let's just say if I worked out in 12 in the afternoon, I did an intense workout, I finish at 1 p.m., I'll finish with a warm shower, then go to lukewarm just to close the pores a bit. And at night, I'll do a cold shower, but it won't be as long. It'll be maybe like a minute or two, just enough so I still have that signaling going on that, you know, it's still time to grow your muscles. It's not down regulation of the inflammation.
No, I totally get that, man. Totally get that, man. And it's good to know that. It's good to learn that information, so that way I can stick with my goals for what I'm doing and what I want to do for my physique and where I basically want my body to grow and go, you know?
True that.
So, man, you got to try out the carnivore diet for about 5 weeks. You had some exquisite results, and I can talk about this a little bit too, because I also did the carnivore diet last year for the same time period, and for both of us, it was quite a paradigm shift. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
So
what your experiences were.
Yeah, so obviously I was looking into Sean Baker. Is that who it is? Sean Baker, that's what the carnivore diet. Yeah?
Yeah, he's one of like the most athletic people that uses this diet to. I mean, the guy eats like 3 to 4 pounds of meat a day, and most of it's ribeye steaks.
Yeah. So that was my reference.
On it.
That was my reference point where I was like, you know what? I'll give this a try. And I was doing keto for the past like 2 years, so I was like, might as well try it, just see what it's about. So relatively easy to transfer over, because I was literally doing like 10 to 20 grams of carbs in general on the ketogenic diet. So the transition was very easy. But within that time frame, the first week, definitely felt a little bit weird. Something. Maybe it was psychological, because I, in my mind, was thinking, you know, I'm doing the carnivore diet, you know. But after a week, I was like, dude, I'm working out. I feel stronger, which is very strange. I think people are very misinformed that, you know, everyone thinks that you need carbohydrates to get that strength in the gym. I feel that the more protein you have, that is more important than anything. It is. I remember I was at the gym, and I was just getting back into deadlifting and whatnot. And I was consistently around like 365, 405 deadlifts for like a few reps. And then I just on the carnivore, like the third week, I got like 455 or 460 effortlessly. So I'm like,
Wow.
I'm putting, and the strange thing was I've lost a few pounds during
Hmm.
that time frame because I was eating like ribeye steaks every day, like multiple of them. That's
Oh
what I
my
was,
God.
and
That gets expensive.
yeah, that was very expensive. 3 ribeye steaks a day with
But I
some
did it
ground
too.
beef. Yeah, like that's awesome. And during that time frame, I got much stronger. I lost a little bit of weight, but I think that would just equate to just being a little bit in a calorie deficiency, just a little bit from my regular ketogenic diet, where I was about like 4,000 calories, 4,500. But my cognition got better. My smell got like excessively like sensitive. Like I could smell things a lot better.
Oh, no way.
It was weird. It was like you were going primal in a sense. Like if it
Mhm.
switched on some gene in you or something.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, another book for reference too, if you ever get around to reading it, I think you might be able to follow up on some of those primal instincts that come out when you get on that kind of a diet. The Fat of the Land by Valhumur Stephenson. He was
Uh-huh.
a European that lived with an Inuit tribe for about 2.5, 3 years, out on the outer bridge of the Arctic Circle, and he ate nothing but. And I talked about this with you in your podcast. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I saw your cat like chasing its tail, so I started to laugh a little bit on the bed. So, but we got the video feed, so the viewers are gonna love it, I bet.
That's
Anyway,
funny.
he ate
He's a
nothing but
character.
fish, and I think he's about to jump up. I don't. I thought he was about to jump up on the shelf. I don't know what he's
You
doing.
might. You might. Whatever.
Oh, well, hey, real quick, what's the cat's name?
Binks.
Binks.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Binks. He's an exclusive guest on the podcast today.
Yeah.
So,
What the hell? Let me
but
bring.
okay, go ahead. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Dude, what in the fuck?
So that how that happened was I was on Amazon and somehow after purchasing cat food, as the algorithm was smart enough, it inserted or the AI inserted cat hats. So I was like, dude, this is funny. And so I bought it for
No
him and I
way.
thought it was hilarious.
Oh my god. That is the cutest yet dorkiest thing.
Right? It's so funny.
I'm sure he's just like, man, I hate my life. My fucking
Yeah.
owners. What are they doing to me? They're ruining my
Right.
reputation as a cat.
It's like I am the king.
But anyway, so the scientist and a colleague of his, they stayed with this Inuit tribe. I've talked about this on a podcast that you did with me on your channel. And they ate nothing but fish, had fish fat, and drink water for 3 years straight on the Arctic Circle. And they had these amazing results that they recorded. And then they inevitably tried to bring it back to the States and do the same scientific research that they had done before on only just eating meat. And that's kind of where this whole diet or this transitional diet kind of came into play. But I think it got forgotten about, obviously, because we kind of went in another direction with that too. But as far as specific diets and the dogmas of these kind of ideological diets go,
True.
because at one point you were vegan and then you kind of transitioned to keto and then even did the carnivore diet as an experiment too.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that too as well because I was actually vegan at one point as well. So
I feel like anyone on the journey of improving their health, they dip their toes into the vegan diet.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's just been so much recorded history too, and so many from my side of things, doctors that I've researched, and they found some really good therapies with it. And that's what I was talking about earlier, like with this kind of paradigm shift. Like, I feel like depending on whether or not you have an autoimmune disorder, I really feel like the carnivore diet is great as an elimination diet. And then you can start to add back in the foods that you're not allergic to, as far as you know. And then if you can tolerate certain plant foods, or maybe a string or kind of like cousins of plant foods, and you can eat those and incorporate those in your diet, then you can eat those in your diet. But if they are related to each other and you're allergic to them, it could even be an herb. Like I've heard of people being allergic to garlic. Garlic of all things, dude. It's the most like potent antibiotic, like antifungal, like strongest herb out there to kill off any kind of disease and to bring down like your duration with the virus, like the cold or flu, you know. And some people are allergic to this one specific herb for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just how their autoimmune just like responded to it in their bodies. And so I think in this kind of an elimination diet, like you're able to figure out which foods you're allergic to and which ones you aren't allergic to. Whereas if you did the vegan diet and you did juice therapy for a period of time too, it can correct any of those kinds of autoimmune issues as well as your gut biome too. It just depends on what kind of plant foods you can tolerate or not, as far as what I've been able to figure out. And then some people are good either way. Some people just thrive on meat and they just suck with plant foods, or other people just thrive on plant foods and they just suck with meat. And in those situations, specifically red meat too. You know, but I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. But I think, yeah, you know, I agree with you, man. Like in any one person's journey in getting healthy, like I think they end up dabbling in like either the vegan diet or going vegan for a period of time, or maybe they get into keto and they do that for a period of time, or now with this new trend of the carnivore diet and all these upcoming people that are trying it out and experimenting with it or thriving off of it too, you know, they end up doing the all meat diet and no plant foods for a period of time as well. So
true that.
Just depends. But yeah, man. So what was your experience like with DMT?
That's funny. That's so funny. So for people that don't know what DMT is, it's dimethyltryptamine, and it's known to be the strongest hallucinogen that we know of in the world. It stronger than mushrooms, stronger than LSD, stronger than weed combined. It is for sure the strongest hallucinogen. And it's a very small amount is needed to promote extraordinary results. And what's interesting about this specific compound is that majority of people that take it, when they take a high enough dose, they experience this out-of-body experience where they leave their body and enter this dimension. And each person can translate and can explain that what they experienced was some entity, some being, something of a higher intelligence, something like godlike. And to have this documented and having thousands of people saying that they've had this experience is very interesting, because when you find stuff like mushrooms, acid, weed, you don't get this consistent basis of these experiences. So that's what's one extraordinary thing about the substance itself. But before I even did the substance, I dabbled with cannabis for a long time. I got into mushrooms as well, so psilocybin cubensis, a little bit of LSD, but I needed to see what the hype was about this DMT. I'm like, everyone's talking about it, was watching documentaries, was listening to Terrence McKenna about it, and I'm like, you know what, this definitely seems something that I need to experience. So I was thinking, like, how do I find this? This is one of the rarest substances to acquire. It's very strange to have this. So out of nowhere, my friend calls me and he's like, he's like, do you want to try DMT? And I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, luckily enough, he had someone from, I think it was Denmark or Sweden that he knew, send it over. And so, yeah, pretty much I was like, well, shit. So I literally just mentally prepared, took a cold shower, changed, and just drove over. And he had this little, I literally just get into the backyard, and him and his friend are already sitting there like, you good to go? I'm like, no, but let's do this. And so they went first, they take their first hits, and literally he was just taking bong hits out of it.
Mm.
and he just kind of sat back, closed his eyes, and was teleported. I'm like, what's going on? Like, how you doing in there? Like, wondering. And then it came to my turn. I'm like, all right, shit, let's see what this is about. So my buddy's
Right.
holding it for me, and I'm just pulling on the bong. And so I take my first hit, and I'm holding in the smoke, and I exhale. Instantly, everything started getting like super pixelated, like super high
Mm.
definition. I could see each individual detail inside the grass. I'm like, what
Oh.
in the world? I could hear in the faint distance before I was smoking, I could hear kids in the background. As soon as I took my first hit after, it sounded like I could hear the kids down the block. That's how intense my hearing got.
Whoa.
And so I'm like, dude, this is weird. After my first hit, and then I take the second hit of it. After that, all these colors start morphing and everything starts moving and shape shifting. And I'm like, whoa, I'm like, to my buddy, I'm like, dude, I think this is enough. He's like, no, 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 no. One more. One more. And I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, here. He literally shoved it in my face. I'm like, well, fuck it. Pull. And as soon as I had it in my lungs, I was like, in my head, I'm like, oh shit. That's what I thought. I was like in my head thinking like, oh shit, like I'm fucked. That's what I was thinking. And as soon as I
Full with the
exhale,
brim.
I just go, and I literally just laid back. My friend just lightly pushed me down, and I literally closed my eyes. And what was so fascinating about this, so if you know anything about um, anything relating with the Buddhist and Indian textiles, is that they strongly relate with like the chakra system. So
Right.
like the base root chakra, I could feel from the base of my chakra, the first one, the root one,
The root
energy start
chakra.
rising up all the way. And as soon as I got to my brain, so my third eye, right?
Right.
Literally, I felt myself leave my forehead, get pulled into a wormhole, and just at the speed of light going inside this wormhole to this almost like
Uh,
a gate of a sort. And I pushed through it, and I broke through to an infinite dimension of everything was made out of light. And that's the best way I could explain. Like everything was
wow.
structured with light and colors. And what's interesting about the place that I went to is that it looked, by the definition of Christianity, or how Christians perceive the kingdom of heaven. That's the best way I could perceive it.
Hmm.
And they've done studies on people that have done DMT based off of different religions. So they had Christians, they had Muslims, they had people that were Buddhists that have done DMT. Each religion has similar experiences. So the people that are Christian will have more similar experiences within their own tribe, rather than a Buddhist or someone more in Eastern philosophy, when their religions will experience something more correlated with water or something on a streamline. So it's very interesting how my experience of the hallucinogen was structured due to my upbringing, because obviously I was brought up Christian and whatnot.
Uh,
So regardless of, I get to this place, and
fascinating.
all of a sudden I'm introduced to there were like human bodies, but they
Okay.
were made out of energy, and they're just examining me. They're looking at me like, oh shit, like how you doing? Like how'd you get here? And I'm sitting in this place like, but you have to think about it. Like our experience of reality is third dimensional. It's nothing. That's the only thing we know is third dimension. It's what we can feel, what we can touch, we can smell. This place is like like the 10th, 11th dimension. Everything is structured through light. So I'm looking at this
Wow.
stuff like, what the fuck's going on? Why are you talking to me? And how are you talking to me? And everything was telepathic. You didn't talk through words. Everything was just
What?
what I'm thinking. It gets transmuted into that person's brain, or whatever that thing's brain was, or if it had a brain,
Huh.
and it could exchange information without talking, simply by just awareness. But
Hmm.
besides that factor, they brought me into a room and put me on a table. Mind you, everything's still made out of light and energy and atoms.
Hmm.
And they all of a sudden lift their hand up, and their hand was like infinite colors. Like you could see every single color in it. And then all of a
Hmm.
sudden, the hand just started turning solid white, just completely white. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And their hand just started going up and down my body, scanning it, like checking if there was impurities or things were broken. And when it got to my like, abdomen, he just held it there, and it got like super, just energy was like beaming and like healing me.
Mm.
And then it was like, okay, you're good, and brought me into this circle where everyone's sitting in there, and they passed a bowl, like a bowl around, and it had water in it.
Mm.
And I'm looking at this water. I could literally see the atoms inside this water as I'm shaking it.
Mm.
And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, all right, this is some ritual. So I drink the water and pass it down to the next person. And once they finished, they started expressing to me of what is the goal and evolution of humanity, like of the human race.
Mm.
And he was showing me, he's like, try talking. He's like, talk. And I'm like, "Ugh." And I could feel inside me like something's coming out. And he's like, come on, keep going. And as soon as I like actually started talking without the exchange telepathically, he mentioned just try talking. So once I talked, I started creating images of what I was thinking. So like let's just say I said cat. If I were to say cat, it would create an image of exactly what was placed inside my mind, and everyone else around me could see literally what I was thinking, feeling, and saying at once. So it's like
Mm.
the most immersive, intense interaction you could ever experience. And they're like, that is the goal of humanity, to get to the point where you break down all levels of ego, of this just chattering, and you could express freely from within your mind, and everyone can understand what's going on within you. And I was like, just jaw drop. I'm like, this is insane. And they kept on talking and talking, but everything's telepathic. Like everyone's exchanging through images, like you're talking, but images are coming out, and you can see the images of what they're saying, and still it could be telepathic. And as things are going on, it starts getting like dimmer, like the lights are going down, and I'm starting to look around and thinking, why is it getting dim in here? And all of a sudden I see a hand coming at my face like this, and I'm just dropping, falling. I feel like I'm falling, and I'm falling, and I'm falling, and whew, I land back inside my body, and I just go boom, shoot back up. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I'm like grabbing my head. I'm
Oh
like,
my God.
yo, I'm like, dude, what was that? What just happened? I'm like, how long was I gone for? My buddy turns to me, just looks at his phone. He's like, 7 minutes. I'm like, 7 minutes. 7 minutes. That's it. I thought I was gone for at least 6 months.
Oh my God.
Time was so warped that
Holy
it felt like I was
shit.
at this place for months on end. I was thinking like, dude, my parents must be worried sick. I'm probably on milk cartons because people have no clue where my ass is at. And I just remember leaving and driving my car. I'm like, this is the strangest thing I have ever experienced in my life. For 2 weeks, I was just in a haze because I couldn't conceive anything like that ever happening to me. It was just, there's no words in the English or human dictionary to explain what that was or what the encounter was. And it was just so life changing. Ever since that incident, I literally stopped working out completely. I was meditating for like 12 to 14 hours a day.
Wow.
I was doing a ton of fasts. I was doing juice fasts. Everything was about spirituality, enlightenment. And even there was that, as soon as I got back into my body, there was that ego pursuit of becoming enlightened. But still, like the amount that I learned within that time frame was just, it's like I downloaded 20, 30 years of meditation. That's what it felt
Wow.
like.
Oh my God.
Or even like a lifetime's worth of meditation.
Sure. Why not, man? Like, dude, from that whole experience, it sounds like your third eye was just cranked the fuck open, and you were just like you just had this into like this excess of light just poured into your body, or you
Yeah.
shot out of
Yeah.
it. Obviously you had some sort of kind of an out-of-body experience. Maybe
Yeah.
something similar to astral projection is one of the
Yeah.
closer things that you could define it as. But like, damn, dude.
Yeah, no, and the thing
That's
is, it's just
crazy.
like I always try to interpret it through like an infinite amount of perspectives. Like, I could think it as this was literally me tapping into a different reality, a different dimension, and actually going there. Or B, this is just a chemical that just made me just hallucinate. Nothing
Mm.
happened, and it was just my brain creating it. But still, it is very fascinating that something like that exists, and you can have a religious experience where you encounter the closest thing you know of what is God.
Mm.
To actually have direct experience of something that is God-like or has characteristics of beyond the religious definition that we have, that in of itself, even if you're a non-believer in God and you're atheist, to have that experience, you're going to have questions afterwards. You're like,
Oh yeah.
what was that? You know?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, even if you don't like believe in like an afterlife or some kind of entity, some kind of spirituality, after having an experience like that and you're one of those individuals that just hasn't had or have those kinds of beliefs, you're definitely going to be changing how you think about the world and how you think about your
Yeah.
life and how you think about your experiences from then on.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's just crazy. Man,
Yeah.
that is like the most crazy DM story I've ever heard.
Dude. I'll tell you one funny story that happened on LSD. This is probably the
Okay.
funniest thing that had happened to me.
Okay.
So it was a day off. I didn't have work, and this was like a few years ago.
Okay.
And I'm sitting at home thinking, like, fuck it, like, dude, it's all good. You know, don't have work, don't have anything to do. All right, I'll just take like some acid, whatever. I got the free day, so I took a hit, and
I'm just gonna
and
drop some acid. It's okay. What the
yeah,
fuck? Fuck it. It's
and
my day
like
off.
2 hour, like an hour and a half kicks in, and I'm like, whoa, this is starting to get really good. Like this, everything's starting to warp a little. Things are dancing, colors are changing,
The walls are breathing.
literally. And I'm sitting on the couch, and this is my old cat. Which, okay, do you see the cat that I just got?
Yeah.
Okay, that cat looks identical to my old cat that I had.
Wow.
Like literally identical. So my last cat that I had, I'm sitting on the couch and I'm looking at him. I'm like, oh my god, you look so funny. And he's like, haha. He literally telepathically responded to me, laughing at what I said. And I'm like, oh my god. I was thinking, you can understand me, and we're telepathically communicating through each other. And I'm looking up and I'm thinking, dude, this is the smartest cat I've ever fucking. And I'm thinking to myself, like, do you always know this? He's like, yep, yep. He's like, you humans are just too stupid to realize how smart we really are. And I'm thinking, like, what the fuck? My cat's talking to me. My cat is literally talking to me. And all of a sudden, someone's knocking at my door, and
Oh no.
I'm like, who the fuck is this? And I open the door. It's my ex-girlfriend. Like during that time she was my girlfriend, but it's my ex now. And I'm just
Yeah.
standing there and I'm like, what are you doing? And she had no clue. She's like, why aren't you answering your phone? And I'm like, I was sleeping. And my eyes are dilated, like massive.
Just
And
do the
and,
pupils.
and she's like, are you high? I'm like, no, just woke up, just a little strung out. And she's like, and like a full blown argument just goes out. And I'm like,
Oh
oh
no.
fuck, I'm tripping. An argument's happening. So I sit back on the couch and I look back at my cat, and my cat looks at me. He's like, don't even listen to that bitch. And I'm like, what? Dude, I swear on my life, this is this is true. Exactly what happened. So I'm looking at my cat, and he's just like, dude, don't even pay attention to her. She's like, dude, think about this. In the next 10 minutes, she's probably going to leave, and you're going to be fine. Don't even worry about it. And I'm like nodding at the cat. I'm like, dude, you're right. My girlfriend, my ex is like, she's like, are you listening to me? I'm like looking at her. I'm like, yeah, it's just like, I'm really not trying to argue. She gets pissed, storms off, leaves the house. And I'm sitting still on the couch, and I look back at my cat, and he looks at me. He's like, was I right? And I'm like, this is insanity. And then afterwards, I'm just walking around the house, and we're just talking. Everything's telepathic, how we're talking with one another. And then the weirdest thing is after that experience, whether that was me just hallucinating, whether that was everything was inside my mind happening, ever since that day happened, my cat and I, we created such a relationship together that he wouldn't leave my side. He would sleep everywhere I went, he followed me. And there would be times where I'd sit sober, would look at him, and he's just staring at me. I was like, all right, bitch, you want a staring competition? He stared at me for 7 minutes straight without blinking.
Oh my God.
7 minutes. I'm like, dude, something happened. During this trip, something happened. Because it's strange that this cat's acting completely different after this.
Wow.
So I'm just like, all right, there's a portal to talk to this cat. I just need a tab of acid. It was the strangest experience, but still, anytime I tell that story to people, they laugh so hard.
Yeah. Dude, you had me gut rolling, man. No joke. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever want to talk telepathically with your cats, just do a tab of acid.
Yeah.
Not recommended, but
or any animal.
Or any animal. But no, in all reality, folks, don't try that at home.
At all. Everything is prescribed by a doctor.
Yeah. Let's go with that. But let's not go down that rabbit hole. Oh man, dude. So, did your DMT experience, as well as getting you into meditation, did it kind of project you towards getting into the practice of the Wim Hof method, or did you stumble on that before that?
Yeah, no, I did Wim Hof even before that. I saw.
Okay.
So what's interesting is I knew about Wim Hof like in the early 2010s, maybe like around there.
I found out about him in around 2013, 2014 when I was working at the hospital.
Because he, I think it was New York City, was doing like a world record where he was in an ice bucket, whatever, and he was in there for like I don't know how many hours.
It was about maybe 10 to 17. Maybe it wasn't 17, but it was a Guinness World Record though.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, this guy is mind-bending me. And then afterwards, he was explaining how he was doing meditation and how the cold brought him into a deep state of meditation. And I was like, dude, there's something to this. And I knew nothing else about him. I was like, well, okay, whatever. Like, it was only a glimpse. I still remember it was on the news for a little. I'm like, whatever, I'll just try cold showers and whatnot. So I started doing them, and I literally could feel so much better doing them. And it was kind of on and off doing them. And then later, it was like maybe like 2015, maybe 2014. I think around then, I see a YouTube video. I'm like, dude, that's the guy that I saw in that world record. And I started watching. I'm like, holy shit! And it was like a whole documentary about him. And that just plunged me to this continuous habitual habit that just is every single day, just taking cold showers or some regulation of alternation between heat therapy, cold therapy, and some mindfulness with breathing.
No, man, that's good. That's good. No, it's similar to mine too. Hang on a second, man. I dropped something.
Cool.
But I mean, it's interesting though, because I'd found out about him, like I told you, in like early like 2013, 2014, and I just got so like fascinated with the method, but I didn't really get turned on to it until I think it was after I discovered monk mode and Elisha Long, like you talked about earlier at the beginning of this episode, and how he had actually kind of practiced it a little bit too. And I'm like, okay, well, if this guy's doing it, then I don't see why I couldn't. And I never really like attacked it because of my career at the time, like where I was working and things like that. I was living on a whole different playing field, working night shifts and being a zombie half awake for about a year and a half, so half dead too. But I digress. Then getting into my now job that I've had for the last couple of years, I was actually able to make it a practice. And after I saw Elisha Long, I was thinking, you know what? If he's been able just to get by with just doing the breathing method, maybe I could do it too. So then I found a Wim Hof group, and I started to kind of train myself in practice. And then this is also when I started getting deep into meditation too. More so, I started turning towards meditation versus the Wim Hof method. But what really inspired me and what did it for me was the Vice documentary that I watched, where in the intro, He's literally 3 meters below the ice, surface of the ice,
Yes.
swimming about, what, 50 yards on the Arctic Circle. And he swims about 50 yards before his retinas freeze. And then he goes an
Yes.
extra 20 yards. So, and he passes the hole where he was actually supposed to get out of. He realizes that his retinas froze. By the way, I learned all this information via the Joe Rogan podcast with Wim Hof on it. So I'm just
Uh-huh.
kind of requoting it verbatim. So he passes it by 20 yards. He realizes that he went too far mentally because he was counting. He tries to swim back and he almost dies. They actually had to pull him out
Mm-hmm.
somehow. They pulled him out. But after he like came to a little bit, because I guess he was on the brink of death, and that's just how amazing this guy was. He did his breathing method and he was able to focus so hard to but like unfreeze his retinas and get his body temperature up to a stable level, like at least 98.6, and keep it there, like to reheat up the body after swimming in that. But after I had seen that feat in that footage, and after watching the Vice documentary, that always stuck with me in the back of my mind. And then a couple of years later, about 2018, after practicing for about a year, maybe 6 months, I finally got up the nerve, racked up a nerve to go ahead and go to a workshop over in Portland, Oregon, and work with some instructors. And then I was able to kind of set up a nice basis, a pretty good basis, to where instead of doing 3 rounds every day, once a day, and throwing in a push-up exercise, or trying to kind of expand my consciousness and see how much more I can control my awareness and my breathing patterns with the DMT push, I was able to kind of find a good maintenance routine to where I could do at least 1 round with a push-up exercise and use it really as a tool every day as a good maintenance tune-up as far as the breathing method goes with the push-up exercise. Have you ever tried any of those
I haven't tried any of
methods?
the push-ups. I've done his breathing exercises where it's you're sitting, doing it's almost like you're doing a deep inhalation and a partial exhalation,
Right.
and
The
doing that.
pranayama,
Yeah, so
pranayama breath.
so I do about 40 reps of that, and then it's either you inhale all the way and then you hold it, or you exhale. Which one is it? I'm trying to remember.
How I did it, and the beauty of this method is it's very flexible, so you can do either or, but you hold it in for as long as you can, and literally you're timing it. I can almost hold my breath for almost 3 minutes
Mm,
after doing about 40 breaths, excuse me. And then you push all the breath, or you breathe all of the air out, nowhere in
yes.
the lungs, and then you hold it for as long as you can, which isn't very long because your body's like at that point spasming, and you're actually hitting the what is that called? The vagus nerve ending, and learning how to
Uh-huh.
control that, which works from like the center of your, I want to say it's somewhere in between your throat and connected
Hmm.
to your brain all the way down to like,
Your gut axis.
your gut axis. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Exactly. So you're learning how to control and dilate that at a very optimal level with this method, which is very amazing. And then also how to work with like your adrenal glands and cortisol control
Uh,
too.
and mind
It's
you,
crazy.
if you don't have much experience with the Wim Hof method, do not try to do it when you're doing an ice bath for your first few times, because I almost passed out doing it in there.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my instructors also recommended that too, especially if you're in a large body of water and you're swimming and you're doing this breathing exercise at the same time. That's a no-go, especially if you're also driving too. You don't want
Yes.
to do this breathing method when you're in the middle of driving. You want to be either laying down in a kind of a solitary state, whether you're with people or at home, and you either want to be laying down or sitting down and doing this breathing method. It's the safest way to practice it. So
Yeah.
for all my viewers that are watching this, if you do decide to try out the Wim Hof method and start the practice, definitely do it in a sitting or laying down position where you can be at home or in a relaxed position.
Yeah.
And don't do it in a cold shower during a cold shower therapy or in an ice bath.
Yeah.
That's a no-go. But what I would encourage you to experiment with is that after you get this practice down and you start doing the breathing routine and everything, definitely try out a cold bath. Maybe do it with a partner. Have somebody watch you just in
Yeah.
case. You don't want to overdo it with an ice bath, or at least try a cold shower and see how long you can go. I've been able to really benefit from cold showers in conjunction with this method and breathing method, like going about The most I've been able to get to is about maybe 5 minutes in a cold shower, as long as
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to stay in. When I did the workshop, we were only allowed to do 2-minute rounds at the time, so that way everybody else could get a shot in. After we did 15 rounds of the Wim Hof method, so that's like it's surpassed 40 breaths, man. We probably did somewhere between 120 to almost 250 breaths
Jesus.
after 15 rounds. So my math may not be correct on that, but then again, I was getting high off my own supply at that time. So,
Literally.
but dude, that almost made me invincible to the weather that was at hand too, because we had kind of a weird storm front come up, and later on that day after the workshop, it rained. But I got to go hang out with some of the people after the workshop and kind of get to know them and know who and where they came from, you know, because a lot of them weren't from the Portland area. Some of them were from overseas. One of them was kind of a practicing Buddhist, and he kind of believed in Wim Hof as being the Buddha incarnate, and that's why he started following the practice and actually becoming an instructor. And then Brad and May Lynn were just originally from the Portland area, but they got into becoming instructors just because of Malin's battle with, and I may be saying her name wrong, but with Malin's battle with bipolar disorder, depression as well, and how she corrected it using this breathing method. And the funny thing about this method and this breathing method and breath work through the Wim Hof method is that it's been able to cure a lot of well-known like emotional disorders and diseases as well as autoimmune disorders too.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blows my mind that just by the power of breath, by oxygenating the blood, oxygenating the body, and alkalizing the body in this way can cure so many different kinds of symptoms, diseases, even some cases of cancer and mental disorders as well. So it's just mind-boggling, man.
Yeah, and I think majority of people, I would say a good portion of people, they don't have the lens or the attention to how they breathe every moment of the day. And obviously we all slip into our dazes and hazes where we're not paying attention to how we're breathing, and then we kind of slow down. We're like whoa, why am I holding my breath for no reason? What am I stressed about? Why is my body so tight? You know, like once you put that time and that awareness into that consistency of, okay, how am I breathing? And you just, you know, it's not how am I breathing, but you just have the awareness of like, do I feel relaxed? Is my breathing intense? Is it more fast paced? How's my blood pressure? You dial in more. And then when you can do that, you know, the probability of that anxiousness, that depression, the episodes that people experience with their mental health, that can be drastically minimized and reduced by that simple aspect, just oxygenating your blood through focusing on breathing.
No, exactly, man. And the funny thing about Wim Hof too, man, is that he was able to use this method in various different ways, like whether he was running 2 miles in the desert after drinking 2 cups of coffee and having no water.
Yes.
Running barefoot, I think, again in the Arctic Circle or somewhere.
It was, I think, Norway.
Somewhere,
I think it was Norway.
And it was some sort of a marathon, right?
It was
where he ran it barefoot.
I'm pretty sure. I think he ran it in sandals, or like not sandals, but it might have been barefoot or like sandals, and it was like 26 miles, and it was negative 30 degrees.
Yeah, and then God, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
You know what's funny about that? After I heard he did the one where he was in the desert and he ran for like a few miles, I went to the Export. It's a gym by my house, and I literally covered the sauna, the sensor, with a towel and started spraying everything down to make it super cool. So I brought the temperature up to about 200 degrees inside the sauna, close to 200. A regular sauna is usually about anywhere between 140 to 160. Brought it to 200. Dude, you would sit there, your face is just burning. Your ears are burning, and all you had to do, just focus on your breathing. You're good. And all you would do is just have to focus. I mean, it was so funny because there was these group of Russians that come in, and they're like, no, we're good. Like, we do this in Russia all the time. And I'm like, okay, we'll see. And I'm just focusing on my breathing, like very intense. And they're kind of like laughing at me. And then all of a sudden they're like, dude, they start panicking and get out. And now it's like, yep, like, dude, there's no joke with this. I mean, obviously, it's not the smartest thing to bump it to 200, but for
Of
me,
course
it's
not.
like I'm going back and forth doing cold showers and then going back in and
Mm,
going, sitting it till like the moment I can't and going back in. But the trick was I was using electrolytes while I was doing it. The reason
mm,
why is that when you're in a sauna, you're obviously sweating a lot. You're losing minerals, and especially your blood pressure drops. And what
mm,
drops blood pressure? Loss of sodium, potassium, chloride, all those. As soon as you
mm.
put that back in your system, your blood pressure stabilizes and you can sit longer in the heat.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's very important to salt your water.
100%.
At least a
100%.
teaspoon or less than a teaspoon or a pinch,
They
right?
usually say with an hour of medium to medium to moderate exercise, you lose about a teaspoon worth of sodium,
Mm,
something around there.
okay. I got
Yeah,
you. Interesting. Very interesting. Dude, that's crazy, man. All right. Well, all right, brother. Well, we've been going for about an hour and a half. I feel like we had a pretty good talk, and I feel like we could probably wrap things up.
for sure.
You like it? All right, brother. Okay, so well, Alan, real quick for my viewers, and I'll be leaving everything down in the description below for your everybody that's watching and tuning in, and as well as your viewers as well. Where can people find you and follow you?
You can find me on Instagram, ZenMode Philosophy.
Mhm.
That's if you need to reach out. That's most likely. If you need to get in touch with me, you can get me through there. Also on the YouTube channel, ZenMode Philosophy. Reach out there. Regarding the CBD products, you can do at Grandma Kush CBD on the Instagram. It's the same thing. I run both those channels, whether it's Zen Mode or Grandma Kush CBD. So whether you have questions within the CBD aspect realm or
Right.
just in general with the YouTube channel with Zen Mode, you can always reach out through there.
Okay. Yeah, no, for sure, man. Yeah, and everybody that's tuning in and watching this episode, I will leave all the links down below in the description. So feel free to click those links and check out Alan and his business and check out his platforms, and you can follow him there as well. And if you guys want to see any more exclusive episodes, especially an exclusive episode with me and ZenMode Philosophy, go ahead and check out my Patreon account. For you to gain access to all my exclusive content and exclusive podcast episodes, it's only going to be the low cost of $5, as much as a Starbucks cup of coffee. So don't waste any more time. Go check out my Patreon page, which is just TheLJEffect. And again, Alan, thanks for doing this with me, man. Really
Anytime
appreciate it, dude.
we have to do another one for sure, part two.
Absolutely. No, we could do a part two, or I could come onto your channel for another podcast, which
Hey,
I'd be more than willing to.
for sure, we should
So.
do that.
Yeah, man. No, we'll plan it out. But all right, dude. Thank you so much again for doing this. And till next time, guys. Stay tuned. This has been the LJEffect podcast. And if you haven't yet, like, comment, and subscribe for more content. And we will see you guys in the next episode. All right. Thanks, brother.